It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
And welcome everybody to our Tuesday morning consulting show. Having a little trouble with the co-host this morning. Jumping all around, being a spaz, breaking things. Probably hear him over here having a fit. So, got a little late start today. We're going to be checking out a couple of things this morning. So welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us live. If you're one of the people joining us live out there, we do these shows. We're trying to do these live every day again. It's the goal of the Daily Gun Show. And some of the things we'll be talking about today, I guess, will be reasons why. So we go live every day, and our goal is not to worry about the news of the day or the distractions, the hype. We're not here just to waste time. Let's get some stuff accomplished. So on Mondays, we motivate. On Tuesdays, we inform and work. And Wednesdays, we have a little fun. Thursdays, we train. And Fridays, we wrap it up and pay attention to what's going on. So with that in mind, Tuesdays is for up training, skill development, skill building, that kind of thing. So trying this one in the morning. We usually do the show in the evening, like the introduction says they're midnights normally, but our friends over at Cape Gunworks do their Tuesday show called 2A Tuesday, right? And trying to distract it here as I go to look to see if their show is posted yet. And let's see it. I'll keep looking as we're talking here. But I try to do this show live in the morning to kind of be a intro or a pre-show or a warm-up for that show. And it gives us a chance to chat with people who aren't available at midnights, right? So again, we do this mostly for the podcast, mostly for just the project itself, the daily show. But we do appreciate the people who join us live. We do it live as opposed to a scripted production because I value the interactive nature of this internet, and we accomplish more when we work together. So hey to Snob out there, the first one to jump in this morning. We did move the time around a little bit. Again, sorry about that. Trying to get to the store and stuff before the show starts. While the stores are relatively empty. Didn't work out real well today. Kids are joining us, and Derek, kid safe out there. Welcome. So if you guys have any specific questions, of course, we can tailor it to you guys or to your issues. But I did last week. I used the internet robots to write the description for the show, and I gave it something to the effect of what do Second Amendment content creators need to be aware of going into 2024. And I asked one of the AIs out there. This week, I asked a different AI, a similar, maybe not the same question. Let's take a look at what it says here. I guess I'll just open it up on the screen over here. Maybe we can start a poll or two depending on how it goes. But as I set this one up, like not that long ago, like last night, the night before, it must have been the night before, I've had some time to think about it, and there was also kind of thinking of a couple other directions to go today. So I'm a little bit sidetracked trying to think of if I want to stay going on this direction or not. Defense Dad saying it's a good distraction, so I don't know, hopefully a distraction from something, waiting for something good to happen, but I'm not sure what's going on. I forgot what's happening in your world out there. I knew that, or wait, no, I think I do know what's going on. I was going to say, I know that somebody's waiting for something, but I think I know what it is. So, yep, I understand you. So hopefully this is a good distraction. But our goal isn't to entertain and distract as much as our goal would be to create something that's useful for people. So, content creation, it's fun. It's something to do. A lot of people think of it as a hobby or a supplement to business or an interest. But it's like fishing. It's like playing guitar or something. You got about a million different ways you can do it. You have some things that are consistent. Everybody's working in the same playing field. Everybody's got the similar tools available to them. But what's going on here? But not everyone uses them the same way, so to speak. So with that in mind, content creation is a game, and it is can be fun and frustrating. But it's an individual sport. There's a couple of people trying to play it as a team sport, but for the most part, it's an individual project, an endeavor. Then if we add the layer of Second Amendment focus, Second Amendment activism, Second Amendment awareness to that, it gets difficult. The difficulty level becomes more and more difficult. More and more, the difficulty level increases. So, it's difficult enough to be one of many content creators in the world. There's a lot of them nowadays and more every day because it's fun and easy and everybody should be a content creator. It's just being able to write and read and, draw a picture. You might as well be able to do that all online too, right? It's just another place to do it. If you can do it on a whiteboard and you can do it on a piece of paper, why not be able to do it online? But then you add guns to that, and now there's all the issues that we have to deal with as gun owners because guns have been marginalized since, I don't know, somewhere in the 50s and 60s, maybe in the 60s, since World War II and the adjustment of superpowers and the state interests out there, different state players, and the way that they decided to screw with each other. We've ended up with a consistent marginalization of guns, gun ownership, and gun owners, to the point where it's difficult to approach the subject in some realms. So as gun people, we of course understand that, we know that. Then we get past that because nobody needs to be worried about what's being thrust upon us. Let's worry about the stuff that we can't control. Then we have to worry about just guns in general. They're not that big a deal. Like, some people like them a lot, some people don't, and they exist. So they're kind of like cars or knives or spray paint or something. Like, if you care about them, you care about them, but you can't make other people care about them. And that's fine. That's probably the way it should be. So we've got all these people that have a big interest in guns and a bunch of people that don't. So guess what? That creates issues. That creates rifts in itself. There's people that are out there that are going to exploit that, right? So we have that working against us. Then we have people that like guns, but I like this gun or this type of thing or that kind of thing. I'm interested in this, but not so much that. And again, that's everybody's right. It's just a natural situation, right? Like, not everybody's going to like everything about everything. So it's just something we have to work around and deal with, and we do it all the time. We don't worry about it most of the time, but when we're being marginalized, when we have chunks of people working against us, it's frustrating, and it illustrates, it kind of highlights, it shines light on that fraction. So then you get all those natural fractions, and then you get into the people who are actually paying attention to gun stuff online in 2023, and now we have to give them a message that competes with whatever they might be interested in or what they came to the table for or what they might be suggesting, what might be suggested to them, I guess is the way I say it. And, we've got to compete with that. So if somebody's interested, of everything I just mentioned there, and they're interested in guns, but they're here to see frying pans get shot, or they're here to see whipped cream containers get, shot, or maybe hear about defense stories or learn about something, they're here for a reason. We're here with some other message, and that message might be boring and dull. So we've now got to compete with, of the people that have got down to this level, we still have to compete, the Second Amendment activists. And then you get down here, and now you got people that think, let's say, this awareness of this issue is critical and awareness of that issue is critical, or you're too big for this, or you're too annoying for that. So we get bickering and stuff even down at these different levels. So it's not like there's everything working against us, but let's be real. It's not an easy road to be a Second Amendment content creator. It's a choice that gets made by people, usually because they feel that there's nobody paying attention to some segment and they want to champion that segment. And that's how evolution happens. And that's how everything at scale, that's how it works, right? That's how the comets clean up the cosmos, and that's how the red blood cells clean up the stuff in our blood, and that's how we as individuals take on challenges that other people aren't focused on, and each of us targets something and runs towards that goal, and some people help us and some people get in our way. So let's help each other. Let's at least that's what this show's about. So a little bit of rambling there, but that helps me get a bearing on what I wanted to get talking about today. Reason I'm bringing all that up is, like I say, I asked the robots how to help us, since robots are here to help us. The last couple weeks, I asked them last week and I asked them this week. And then during that interim, during that middle time there, we just lost 2 pillars of our community. I don't know if people are paying attention to that or not. Things come and go. It's frustrating being old because you're aware of things. You can not even pay attention. You can just be minding your business or being distracted or worrying about other things. You're still going to know what's happening out there. And that's what it's like being old. You just know about all these things that have happened. And you're not paying attention to everything. You're just an old person. So you're just minding your business, doing your thing. But then some young kid will come along and go, hey, I just figured something out. And you're like, no, I'm pretty sure you didn't figure that out. I'm pretty sure that's been around for a long time. You just discovered it. You act like you figured it out, but 3 or 4 other people figured that out in my lifetime. They probably figured it out before that. It's just kind of, you just figured that stuff out. You're just there to witness that stuff. So it's tough to explain, but it's frustrating being old and watching our community come and go, grow, just grow and get smaller, and giant things happen. And then, like anything, it's life, things end. So watching things come and go is frustrating, and it's awesome. On the plus side, we've had some times in 2013. We had some impressive, amazing times. In 2005, it was kind of fun. In 2015, there was a ton of stuff happening. In 2000, that kind of lasted all the way to 2017. Then there was kind of a time there to see what was all this stuff going to do. It's sort of like when the fireworks go off, you're going to see what they do. And they all kind of, was it coincidence or not that they all sort of reached their peak during the bullshit stress of a couple of years there? So everything either got fuel to their projects or lost all momentum to their projects during that time. And that's just the nature of things too. So anyway, kind of waxing and waning here a bit, but it's frustrating watching projects that are valid pass along. And everybody who's watching this probably knows what I'm talking about, but take a second here to think about, don't take stuff for granted. Nothing's here because it needs to be or has to be. Everything's here because somebody values it and puts the effort into it. And sometimes those efforts cause tension, stress, and eventually, ruin or break the thing that they're pulling on or stressing on. That sucks. It sucks a lot. And it's not like the opposite would be better. How often do we hear about people that have massive success and then just fail? You know what I mean? Like, success is great, but it doesn't necessarily mean you'll be successful, right? Like, you can have great success in a project and then ultimately fail. So I'm not saying, like something would fix this, but it's just the nature of things. And we're at a time when we got to see, unfortunately, 2 large entities fall, and both of them fell not because the other side did something to take us out, did some strategy or some tactic or some maneuver to take them out, and we lost them during a fight. We lost them through the world, through just life, through our own selves not being able to exist forever. We're not robots. All right, well, so let's get into it. Thanks everybody for joining in. I was saying hey to Snob out there. I don't think I went much further than that. So Snob's the first one saying hey. Then Gezer joined in. Welcome. Derek Kid Stafe is out there, and Defense Dad. I guess I did get through a couple of people. Is that it? There's everybody. She Fires is out there. Welcome. Thanks for joining. So She Fires does a show on Sundays. If you're not paying attention, you might want to check that one out. Pretty awesome. Station hosted by She Fires, typically on a particular subject each week. Gizzard, on the other hand, does a panel discussion on Fridays. If you want to check that out, and brings a bunch of people in, and they have conversations about what's going on, and then have a couple of segments each week. Weston joining us, welcome. So now I'll start reading what people are saying. Kids in surgery, yep, now I remembered. Sorry about that. So, yep, all good wishes going to Defense Dad. Kid Safe saying I use Canva for imagery. You know what? This is Canva. Hold on. This, no, I guess I can do it this way. This Canva. Gizzard made that in Canva. So, I don't have a problem with Canva. It's okay. But why is this? I don't know what I'm doing anymore. This is it's pretty powerful, but it's $25 a month, and I'm already paying for software. That's why I don't have it. But I would, if I had all kinds of money laying around, I would have it. What do I do? Okay, I lost my comments. Here we go. But very powerful software. I use essentially the Adobe version of it, and we'll be talking about that here in a second for essential software. And that's sort of what I was kind of had in mind when I asked the robots this, what software should we need? But it actually gave me way broader answer. So I kind of like its answer better. It was answering a question I didn't really ask, but I like its answer, so we're going with it. What are these entities? I'm not sure what that is. Oh, I'm missing stuff. Okay, so then Derek is saying, I recently took our blog and repurposed it on Substack. When you say blog, like your posts on your website, and then when you say repurpose, like you move them over to Substack, or you additionally post them on Substack. Either way, you're good to go. I don't know if you could have a bad answer to that one. All those combinations, I think, are good. Once you get into fine-tuning it, there might be some reason to do a little bit slightly different on your website and on Substack, but I'm not 100% certain on that right now. So Substack is a great platform. I use it for my projects as well. I was referred to it by Sharon up in Washington, so up in your neck of the woods. Yeah, I've been liking it ever since she recommended it. I use it every Friday for the weekly wrap up, but then I also post anything I post that's worthy. I'll post over there. It seems like the people that use Substack are paying attention. They're readers, they're nerds. They're reading all the time. And then when I point people to it, it's just the best formatting. It looks the best. I can make the most adjustments. I mean, besides a website, I can do whatever I want to. Substack, you can do almost anything you want to make it look the way you want. And then all the other platforms, there's some lesser version of that. So I do like Substack myself. Derek saying I've been using AI to write templates for people to contact their reps. Oh, interesting. That's interesting. So there's things that can be done to identify an AI written thing, and teachers use that to, so that they get kids to write instead of just doing that. And I'm wondering if those techniques aren't going to be used by representatives, email systems, form results, people who, whatever you call it, like the people that verify and interpret the results of data. I wonder if they'll comb the data to scrub out AI stuff. And I don't know if they'll disregard it as much as just, here, like they put it in another pile. Here's all the yeses, here's all the no's, here's all the AI yeses, here's all the AI no's. Sort of like they would take out form letters sometimes. Hopefully they take out form letters. Well, people don't listen to this now. Creamed by the antis right now with the comment periods that no one's paid attention to. Hundreds of thousands of comments coming in on AI forms. So hopefully the government ignores them. They usually ignore the Gun Owners of America forms when they come in. So that's interesting, though, using AI to write reps. This show is definitely the place, or I could use one of my other days to talk about this, but I'm down for talking about AI anytime. It's really interesting. It's not like it's the future, but it's certainly a neat piece of the future, like CDs or VHS. It's not going to last forever or nothing. It's not like the only thing that's ever going to happen from now on, but it is a neat step. It's a neat, interesting chunk. And whatever the next version, what came after VHS tapes, DVDs, right? Like a lot different, but kind of moved faster. And then one came next, streaming. So what's going to happen with AI? We're looking at AI like, oh, it's clunky. Yeah, okay, everything's clunky and lame when it's new, right? What's going to be next? So learning AI now at least gets you up to speed with whatever's next. But anyhow, so anytime anybody wants to talk about AI, I'm down. And then you said, what are these entities? So I still don't know what that means. So I definitely missed the context on that one. Sending out vibes. Welcome. That's awesome. It's free for nonprofits, FYI. Oh, Canva? Nice. That'd be an interesting thing to talk about too. I'm not really taking notes here, but bringing up some great points today. We could probably have a discussion about if it's a nonprofit or if a nonprofit is an option for your project type of thing. Obviously, it's not everybody, but for some people, they might be thinking, and might be thinking about it, they'd be better off to have them talked out of it. It's not for everybody. It's kind of like I don't know. It's I don't know how to describe it. It's sort of like a car, I guess. If you've got a car, it's certainly a nice resource. But now you've got a car, and you can't just from it. You still have this car all the time. So it's nice to have when you want it, when you need it. It's irreplaceable, but sometimes you want from it, and you don't always get to do that one, right? I think that's what it's great. Next up is Defense Dad saying I'm in the process of switching from KineMaster Pro on my phone to DaVinci Resolve for editing. Big learning curve moving from mobile. Well, I tell you what, I know at least one other person who's changing out their video stuff right now, and we could probably put in the list here to start talking about video software sooner than later, if people are interested. Oh, he said we lost two. Oh, did you watch Paul's show yesterday? Paul is going on hiatus with the Polite Society podcast. He's not doing that anymore. I don't know what the repercussions are for that with the network that he's on. Why can't I think of his network? The the radio network that he's basically, I think he's in charge of. And then Locked and Loaded. I don't know if you watched Locked and Loaded show. They have had some back and forths, and then finally went live yesterday and explained everything. So we'll move on. But let's see. Derek said we've got blog posts on our website, and I get multiple uses out of them. Yep. I think I believe I'm gun websites and gear websites, right? So I did that. I bought gun websites in 2004, I think, or 2005 maybe, because I already had like hundreds of websites or dozens of websites back then, and I knew I was about to have hundreds. So I'm all about websites. I like them. It's going to be a while before they're useless, but they've had their power before, and they've kind of waxed and waned with popularity, I guess, like people's appreciation of them. People don't pay attention most of the time, and they just go to links and do stuff, not paying attention if they're on a website or not. But those websites that you're on when you're on things are the pillars. Those are the permanent pieces of the internet. So having your own permanent piece of the internet, relatively permanent piece of the internet, is pretty useful. How you use it, it's just like a car. You can use it all different kinds of ways. You can drive it well, you can drive it poorly, who cares if you drive it poorly if you're only, if your plan is to use it for 2 years type of thing. Like there's lots of ways to use it. So we'll probably talk some strategy at some point, but it's always difficult to get more than a few people who are playing that game. Most people play the social games these days, and their website is just some appendix, some extra thing that they stuck on, but they're not there for the website, so they put very little effort or interest into it. But people that are really in here to win it, who are getting somewhere and doing something, websites are essentially critical. I mean, I guess you could do it without a website, but you'd be bucking the odds, so to speak. Got DJ out there. Welcome. Let's see. Sharon is a lot of people's hero, I think. I need to get Sharon back on. She's been kind of poking around some of the comments again, so hopefully that means she's interested in jumping back on. I should have had her on. I'll have her on Monday, one of these Mondays. I don't know if Derek's got time. I'll have Derek on again, too. Wait, have you been on? Yeah, you've been on before, right? Let's see. Derek's saying, I typically do 20 to 50 different templates. My goal is to flood their inboxes. That's an interesting strategy for sure. So you talking about like create templates for people to use so that they can choose from like 20 to 50 or use as many as they want? Especially in Oregon and Washington, I would say that's, more than a useful tactic because it's worked, but it's sort of a necessary tactic because it's what the antis have been using against everybody up there for so long. There is indeed a dog snoring. He's useless. He was bad today. First, he was bad. First, he woke up being good, but then he started being bad right away. Then we went to the store, and he was essentially bad the whole time. And then we came home, and he was bad. And then we came in the house, and I was putting away stuff, and he was bad some more. And then I started the show, and he came up here and stepped on the keyboard and shut everything down. So he's been very bad. And he got a whooping, but he's mostly mad because I've been ignoring him, and now he just went to sleep. So anybody that thinks just because you got a little puppy around, it's always great. Oh, there's days when it's only halfway great. You got to whoop him. Let's see. Oh, everybody's over here chatting, and I'm over here and not paying attention. Let me see what everybody's going on about. Let's see. So I save it in Google Drive, and people can just copy and paste the ones that they like. People are lazy; you have to hold their hand if you want to get them involved. I can dig that. The Gun Owners of America spends, I think, a lot of money to make this form that like kind of sends it straight in, and I like what you're talking about better. It takes a little bit more work and effort, but people that are interested in doing this, can't imagine they care about that little tiny bit of effort, that little tiny bit of different work. If you're so lazy that you have to have a form in front of you, come on, man. So I like what you're doing because then you give people an option. They can grab as few or as many as they want. They can redistribute them. They can link to your existing thing. I dig that. That's the way to do it. Yep, gotcha. I think I figured it out now. Gizzard is saying, I hate video editing on the phone. I do all my editing on a book. I'm back and forth. I understand the people that do everything on the phone because they're super powerful. Now that I have a phone that, this year? I think I just got these phones this year, right? Thanks to Pink and people on my crew got me upgraded. My phone was super old. It was old. I had no idea how old it was. So I forgot what I was trying to do. I think I was trying to drive the drones around, and I couldn't do it. So Pink hooked me up with his old phones, a bunch of them. And then Joe gave me a couple. Gave me a couple. So I got a ton of phones now, and they're like everybody's hand-me-down phones, but holy moly, are they better than my old phones. So my phones are like $150 to replace them. So I'm super comfortable with them. I do not like carrying around $1,000 phone, but these $100 phones are hardcore. It's a TCL 30. If you want to look it up, I can give you an Amazon link if you want. But super decent phone, and the other one is something like an A something. And great cameras on that one. And now that I have phones that are decent, even though they're too small to do anything, I don't know how people do it because they're so small, but the phones themselves are super powerful. And then you get things like Adobe or other softwares like we were talking about, Canva, and they rock on little tiny devices like that. So I can see how you're doing it. Now, I use a stylus sometimes when I'm using a phone because of, I don't know, I got too many calluses and stuff on my fingers, so my phone doesn't listen to my fingers all the time. But a little stylus can be pretty precise. So with a stylus, or it's essentially a pen with a piece of rubber on the end, like an eraser on it, that's a little bit easier to use the phone. But I get it. But and I've done some editing on the phone. But here's the thing: It's sort of like people that grab an AR kit and go, "Oh, I'm a gunsmith." Like, yeah, okay, you're a gunsmith. So people that edit on their phones are usually using some WYSIWYG thing where they just point their WYSIWYG, app at a couple of files on their phone, and then the app does all the work, and then it spits out a finished product, and they go, "Look what I made." So it's sort of like an AR assembler saying that they're a gunsmith. At least from my experience, that's what a lot of the phone editing is. So you're like, wow, they do some impressive work, when in reality, the app, just kicks out the same cookie cutter result to any files you put in there. All right, so then we got Gizzard. It's the same software on both my phone and the MacBook iMovie, but the mobile version is too limited. There can be that. Yeah, he's got, I don't know what happened with his situation, but he said working and everything. Oh, DJ's asking the same question. He said that it's because he's working every night now. So Second Amendment Foundation isn't supporting his podcast. So he went back to work, and it's too much to do with his job and whatever. So it's not like he took a break because of his health. He just took a break because he can't do both at the same time. Yeah, it was 6 months to see if he can get back to some kind of a schedule, or get back to a routine or whatever. But I'm guessing, I think he probably got used to spending some real time on his show, and he doesn't have that much time anymore, right? You have to make it fit. So he's probably got to figure out what time he's got now, and then see what he can make happen. So he'd shut it down as a hiatus, not as a closing down. But still, now Defense Data is saying I've done everything on my phone with KindMaster. I don't know if I must have heard of that before, but I definitely don't remember what its interface looks like. Defense Data saying it's relatively powerful, but it's a pain if you want to use multiple cameras and import. Well, come on. Like I say, if you're just using I don't know. Like I say, I don't know how these apps work. I'll use their Facebook group with almost 80,000 members. I'll use that tactic there. Oh, you mean putting the different options for letters? That's awesome. This dog is a good boy. He's got another whooping. Just for saying that, he got a whooping. Is it the second Saturday? Don't shoot cowboys. I don't believe it's a good idea to shoot cowboys. For one, cowboys will shoot back. And for two, they didn't do nothing to you, man. They're just kicking cows or whatever. Let's see. Editing on the iPad with Premiere Rush is easy to use and powerful. Oh, really? I have Rush, but I have never used Rush. I might have opened Rush once. Not KindMaster. It's a really powerful program. You can use an emulator, but no desktop versions. Oh, I'm going to keep saying KindMaster because I'm not in Europe. All right, now let's get to the thing that we're here for. So I appreciate all the feedback, though. Feel free to keep chatting away, or having the conversations over there. But I do want to dig in here. So this is kind of interesting. Like, say, I asked one of the robots last week, and I asked a different robot brain this week. This one is the Google Brain, and it has, excuse me, this one has more, it's more current. It listens to the internet today, I think. It listens to the internet currently. And I gave it like a preference, right, or a preface. You don't want to just go up and ask a robot a question. If you just ask a robot a question, it doesn't know if it's answering the question for a baby or for an adult or for a rocket scientist or for a dummy. Let's just say a rocket scientist or a 9mm shooter. So, it's going to just give you some middle of the road answer that appeals to everybody. So if you want a specific answer, you give it some preference, some preface, some parameters. You say, as a professional content creator, answer this question, or as someone who knows how the internet works, answer this question. So I forget the actual thing I asked it, but something to the effect of, be smart and then answer this question. So the question was something about, as a Second Amendment content creator going into 2024, what's important to be aware of. So they go through, or the robot responds with an essential software, a core skills, and additional skills. And I thought that was pretty cool, like giving us skills and software without even really asking it, because that's the way my brain would have started dividing things up. So going through the essential software side, it says video editing software. Next was graphic design software. Then came audio editing software, right? Social media management tools, interesting. Website building tools, email marketing software, and then analytics tools. Very cool. Now, the only thing it doesn't have in here is something like collaborative tools, how to work with other people or work with a team. But otherwise, I really like this list. And this is the kind of stuff I want to do on this show, is talk about these things. Unfortunately, most people won't come in and talk for 8 hours every week about this stuff. So we have to chop it up into some kind of consumable portions. But, I could get into just about any of these and talk about them. And some of them I could talk about all day. But, so we've been chatting here for a bit, so I won't get into the details here. Plus, the details are kind of sucky. For example, for video editing, it just has sort of a list: Adobe Premiere Pro, Final Cut Pro, or DaVinci Resolve for creating engaging and informative videos. But in reality, if we were talking video editing, those are just 3 versions of software. So Adobe is the one that, Adobe is a software company that makes a bunch of different stuff, and Premiere Pro is their video editing version of their software. Final Cut, that's Apple, right? That's what the Macintoshes use. And then DaVinci Resolve is an open source version of Adobe, or a kind of similar version of an Adobe software. It's not like a ripoff or anything. It's like just capable. It's that capable, but it's separate. But it's open source, so it's used by it's created by a bunch of different people with no cost or fees. And there's really nothing wrong with it. It works really well, from what I understand. I've attempted to install it and use it a few times, but then I ended up going back to Adobe, so I never pursued it too far. And most of the time I'm pursuing it just to be curious about it, not because I was going to leave Adobe seriously. I mean, I tried to a couple of times, but I think Adobe is just too much of a good deal. For the $50 a month, you get every useful kind of software you can use as a tool. So it's sort of like having all the Mac tools or going out and buying specific tools from other companies. You're better off buying specific tools, but if you had access to all the Mac tools for $50, you might as well just get all the Mac tools for $50. All right, hold on, I got a cough. So video editing software, we're on YouTube, so a lot of people are aware of video over here. Those of us that are on the Instagrams and stuff use video there. So video is a big chunk of what we do, but it's definitely not all. And most people that you talk to are going to be making more money on the podcast game these days in 2023 and 2024. There's more money to be made going into people's ears than their eyes, at least for gun people. Maybe for everybody. But so that means audio software is potentially either ignored or just as valuable skill set. But either way, for the sake of not going on forever today, I'll move on to the graphic design software, and they give a list here, but essentially it's the same thing. You've got your name brand for regular computers. You've got your Apple option, the stuff that they have to use because they only have certain options. And then they have the open source version, and that, you could say the Linux option, but it's not. It's just the open source option, which usually works on everybody's computers. And there's no perfect option. That's why they usually they list all 3. And they're all very powerful. They all have requirements like certain size computers and certain size processors. I've been doing my first work in 4K. I never really bothered to do anything in 4K. I'm working on a project now that's in video in 4K. So giant files, a 7 gigabyte file. One 12-minute video is 7 gigabytes. So just giant files. And the software can handle that, but the software needs to live on a computer that can handle it. So there's some requirements for some of these things. When you get into the audio and the video not video. When you get into the video is the one that requires the most effort. Audio and just graphic software is going to do better on a fast computer, but it's not necessary to have a super fast computer. And then we get into the just photo editing, and you would think all you need is Photoshop, and probably, or something similar to Photoshop, and you could say yes to that, but in reality, like anything, it's a rabbit hole, so we could get into that. Now, personally, I think the graphic stuff is more interesting than the video stuff when you start thinking about thumbnails and Instagram posts and pictures for websites and graphics for banners and posters and PDFs and just logos and things. You end up using graphic software way more often than you use video software, but you can't suggest that you don't need to know video software. It's pretty much a necessary thing at this point, and there's no reason to be scared of it. So essentially, I would suggest learning graphic software first. Picture software to edit pictures, Photoshop or Illustrator or one of the other versions of it, and then either audio or video next, but probably video next, because that's going to take your picture stuff and just add the element of time to it, making a timeline of a bunch of pictures. And then audio is easy because it's just taking your video and removing the pictures from it, but you still had your audio there. So once you know video software, audio software is easy because it's just video software without the video layer. So I'd say probably learn your picture software, then your video software, then your audio software. Or go the other way, learn audio and learn how the timeline works, add video to it, and then jump down to graphics, which are super easy once you've done everything else. Social media management tools are the ones I have the least awareness of because I do all this stuff manually, but it recommends things like Hootsuite, Buffer, Sprout Social for scheduling and managing social media posts from across multiple platforms. Kind of depends on what your social platforms are. They all have to have an AI, an interface with the world. It's sort of like how R2-D2 goes up and plugs into the Death Star. The web, the internet, is just out there minding its business. So if a website comes along and wants to interact with the rest of the internet, it can either leave those holes for R2-D2 to plug into, or it cannot, right? So big sites like YouTube and Instagram and Facebook, they have these holes that R2-D2 can plug into, and those are APIs. That's a way to think of an API. So if you want to be able to plug in there, have your R2-D2 plug into that site, okay, that site needs to have a hole there. You can't just create a hole. It has to be there. So these softwares only work with sites that have those holes, and they essentially are the R2-D2. They plug in and they beep at you and they tell you a bunch of data once they plug into the hole for you. So they're neat to have and everything, but they don't work with Instagram, and they sometimes work with YouTube. They probably work with YouTube or they wouldn't exist, but they probably are made for Facebook, maybe for Twitter, and then problem is, are they going to work with the other ones you're using? What are you using? Rumble? Are you using Twitch? Like, they may work with some of those, they may not. And you may be waiting forever for them to hook up with the one that you use a lot, or, it might be just around the corner. So those are a lot of flux and a lot of change. And since the socials don't stay consistent, I don't like the idea of management tools, but I could be wrong. There's probably people that are a lot more successful than me, and it's because they don't try to do everything manually. And social is one of those things that, I do it manually because I'm not doing that much of it. I suspect if you were doing a lot of it, you'd almost have to do it with some kind of a scheduler, and maybe these are better off than hiring a person to do it, because hiring a person is pretty expensive. Then we get into social management tools. That's as much as I give you. I don't work with that stuff a lot, but if there's someone out there who does work with these, I'd definitely be interested in listening to some instruction about them or some information about them. I've heard of some of these, but these three, I've only heard of Hootsuite, but I've heard of some of the other ones out there. But either they cost something or they take time to learn, and I've never invested money or time into them. Next up is the website building tools. So again, I'm all about this. We could talk about this for days. Squarespace, Wix, or WordPress are some of the larger ones out there, but there's definitely more than that. And you can always do stuff on your own too. Without getting the whole show about that, we'll move on. Software, MailChimp, and some of the other, I don't know if I've heard these other ones before, ConvertKit or ActiveCampaign for building an email list and send it out targeted newsletters. That can be pretty powerful. There's people that their whole gig is collecting email addresses and sending the right emails to the right people at the right times and profiting. So if that's the case for commerce, why shouldn't it be applicable for awareness and getting people aware of these comment periods, for example, that are kicking our ass right now? And then finally, analytics tools or analytics tools. Google Analytics, YouTube Analytics. There are others, but those are the two large ones. But there's some other software out there that can be super powerful. Problem is, people don't get it. They don't like it. It's tough. It's like learning about nutrition. Yeah, you can learn all about it, but then you got to go eat right. Like, yay, I learned about nutrition. That doesn't make you healthy. It just makes you know that you should eat right and know it instead of just assuming it. So Google Analytics and YouTube Analytics are probably the last thing you're going to worry about, but they probably should be the first thing you worry about, because here's what's going to happen. You're going to build whatever you're going to build. You decide, I got some land, I got some place here where people aren't going to bother me. I'm going to build a house. So you go look around, you find whatever wood you can find, you find whatever stuff you can find, some bricks and some nails, and you start building a house, and you start to live there, and you start to go to work every day, and you do something, maybe a farm in your back of your property or something, and eventually you've created enough resource that you want to add to your house. So you're going to put a porch on it, and then you're going to put a back room on it. The back room, now you can afford to buy nicer wood, so the back room is nicer than the front room, and now you kind of add on to that house, and you keep adding on. Now you're going to put a garage on, and the garage is nicer than the house because now you have more money and more resources, and you know how to build. But guess what? That's the same on the internet. You start doing stuff, and you're hobbling crap together, and then you start adding to that little shack. Then you add on to that little shack, and the next thing you know, you're building giant, huge, cool airplane hangars on the back of some little shack. And that's exactly what you did on the internet. So if you understand how the internet works before all that, then you just sit there hanging out in a tent, and you build your airport hangar, and now you put the tent away, and you live in your airport hangar, and then you build a mansion, and now you got a mansion with an airport hangar. That's a better progress than having a bunch of cool stuff hanging off the back of a little shack and having to have everybody who comes to visit go through the little shack to get to your cool stuff in the back. That's kind of what happens on the internet. So you can ignore all that stuff, everybody does, and then try to fix it later, or take some time, figure out the way the internet works, understand what those metrics are all about, even though you don't have any numbers to look at, build your stuff, and then come back and see what your numbers are like. That's pretty satisfying and fun. Every once in a while, as a consultant, every once in a while as a consultant, I can do that. I can offer people advice to do that ahead of time, and then when they get to come back and look at their numbers, it's amazing. But very rarely, only a couple of times in my whole career of helping people on the internet. One, because I didn't know back in the day, and two, because nobody takes this advice. Nobody takes this advice. A couple of people who are super apprehensive have taken the advice and have figured it out because they were scared, and they didn't do amazing, but they did well for themselves, and they appreciated how well they did because they took the time to understand ahead of time. Most people don't. Most people start with their little shack, they build their little shitty room in the back of it, and then fast forward, and now they're building really nice airplane hangars on the back. But they're frustrated because nobody comes to check out their cool airplane hangars because nobody wants to walk through this shitty shack to get to it. And they refuse to throw away their shitty shack because it's their tradition or their blah, blah, blah. And everybody's like that. So it's just one of those things. So I don't know if that's the best analogy or not, but analytics tools are useful, but also super boring. So it's like learning about nutrition before learning how to cook cakes or bake cakes. You pretty much want to learn to bake cakes, eat them, get all fat. Then you start learning about nutrition. You're like, oh shit, I should have been making spinach souffles or something. All right, so then we get into the core skills. I think before I jump into those, I'll go check out the comments that have been coming in. So, I don't know what DJ's saying. Rush. Kid safe. CapCut works to make memes. See, that's the thing on some of those. I know a lot of when I was watching the Instagram and trying to figure out ways I wanted to use the Instagram. In a minute here, I think my internet's running bad, so I'm gonna take a second, run a commercial. I gotta go grab my sweatshirt. I'm freezing, so I'm gonna throw a commercial up here for our store. If you're interested in grabbing something from our store, here you go.
Hey, did you know that you could help support our future projects and let everyone know you're a fan of what we do? Check out our print-on-demand store. We have a tab here on YouTube. When you click on it, you can choose from a bunch of different items we have, shirts and posters and coffee mugs. Click on the one you like. When you find the design you want to put on it, choose a color and a size if it's appropriate. And when you purchase these items, a portion goes to help fund our future projects. We really do appreciate your support. You get some cool stuff. When you get that stuff, post pictures here and on other platforms, and we'll hook you up next time you order from our Gear website store. Thank you for your support of gunwebsites.com.
Literally just got back from the store, and it is 61 degrees inside my house. That's right, 61. All right, I might go get a blanket, but right now this is warmer. So the thing about the CapCut and those kind of things is I was looking at their terms of service and they scare the shit out of me. I think they own everything people make. And I don't, maybe I'm wrong, but I never used CapCut because of that. But I kind of want to because the stuff that it makes, it's one of those softwares I was saying, like you just poke it at your folder where you keep your videos and you point to the ones you want it to use and then it does all the work. It's pretty neat. Let's see. Defense Dad saying I never used AI. Skynet is different than AI, so you're okay with AI. AI is like the calculators. It's not a computer. It's just it's a back and forth idiot box. It's not a self-aware or anything yet. You don't have to worry about it. Resolve is what a lot of the big trumples are jumping to, getting away from Premiere. That's what I'm learning. I don't know. Premiere's pretty awesome. Resolve has a pro version that's $295, lifetime updates for free. Am I wrong? I thought Resolve was open source. I don't know how you can pay for it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. A film in 4K and 15-minute video is 20 gigabytes. Nobody needs that many gigabytes, man. Website building software is what I need to focus on more. I've got a big enough portfolio now to get my photography business to the next level. Oh, right on. Yeah, lots and lots of options for sharing photo albums. Let me think. I've had over the years at least 3 or 4 photography clients when I was doing website stuff. But one of my first people was a photography thing and figuring out the galleries. There's like a million ways to do galleries. So how fun is it to have a million options and then somebody going, what are my options? Consulting is a lot of fun. Gizzard is saying that he uses WordPress for his webpage. It's all online and they offer hosting and everything. I would highly recommend against using WordPress hosting. There's other options that are more fun or useful, like they have more stuff on them. They do have hosting and it's solid and strong and everything. It's just that it's super boring and only one trick pony. You can do other things for about the same price, essentially. I mean, price of web stuff is all over the place. There's cheap stuff and there's expensive stuff. Essentially, don't pay expensive stuff. You don't need it. Don't assume everything cheap is what you need. Get with somebody like me or get Clover or somebody that does this every once in a while to see what's effective now or what's useful now. But let's say you're paying $10 a month for hosting, just to put a number on it. Let's say it's $20 a month. Hopefully, I don't think they're that much now. Hopefully they're not that much now. But let's say it's $10 a month for hosting. If you host with some place, you might get a one-trick pony, and you host with another place and you get a 20 option deal. So that's the differences. So they're usually pretty capable and similar. It's just that some of them, if you walk in and say, I want this, they go, okay, here's that. And some of them you walk up and go, I don't really know what I want. So they go, here's a little bit of everything. And that's what I'm recommending. The servers that'll give you a little bit of more anything you want. Let's see. Thanks for DJ. Dropping links to our different shows out there. DJ's furnace is set to 63. I don't have a furnace. Well, I have a furnace. I just don't use it for multiple reasons. But it's cheaper to not run a furnace. But I end up running space heaters and stuff. I have a Resolve is a commercial. Then I'm thinking of something else. Is the open source. I keep calling it the open source. I keep getting an energy like little meter that tells me, essentially that I'm doing way better than everybody else in the neighborhood. I guess if you don't have a giant family, then you can use less electricity than them. Snob is saying he uses Wix. It kind of sucks, but it's easy to use. Yeah, that's what I've heard from every single person that uses it. And then price. I don't know what you're paying for it. I think that's what Yankee uses too. So it can do a decent website. It's just that it's like, I don't know, it's like asking your daughter's boyfriend to do everything for you. Like, hey, can you make that update for me? Hey, can you make that update for me? Hey, can you make that? And it's just annoying. We'll just either figure it out or, do it in-house or, I guess, or just do it that way because it's not that bad. People say that it sucks, but it's easy to use, but then they keep using it. Like nobody's really concerned about it. At least I haven't heard anybody that's had horror stories with it. Let's see. Back in the day, Defense is saying back in the day when I was still in graphic arts, we had a dedicated person to write HTML and JavaScript when we put the websites together. Yep, that's what we would have been, is those people. But I don't know. If you said you had people, like you hired people to do it, then that wouldn't have been us. We didn't work for people. But if you hired people to do it, that's what we would have been doing. But Gizzard is saying that WordPress, hosting it there is $48 a year plus $20 for the domain, so about $70 a year. That's not bad. $5 a month, $6 a month. Defense Dad did all the photography, illustration, and layout design, and then they made it happen on the interweb. Nice. Yep, I spent pretty much the 2000s doing that stuff. Weston is saying use Dreamweaver and WordPress. Yep, we never used WordPress. We built our own until maybe like the 9 or something. I started to use WordPresses, maybe 8, but the years up to that, we used Dreamweaver and built everything. Those are old days. You don't have to do that no more. So, in fact, you probably shouldn't do it that way anymore. There's too much to keep track of. So it's sort of like by building a car. Like back in the day, somebody would say, "Oh, I'd go to the junkyard and I just put pieces together and I made a car." Like, okay, yeah, you can do that. It's a neat skill set to have, like welding a bunch of pieces together and then making a car work out of that. But I mean, except for using it in a parade, except for being proud of it, like it's not going to compete with people that just go buy a car, right? It's not going to compete with people who buy a car and then soup it up. So unless you're really, really, really good and you've got a lot of experience and you seriously build that thing to be better than what all the manufacturers are building, then it's just a hobby. So nowadays it's better to just, if you want to perform and win, it's better definitely than to buy parts and assemble a car. Go buy a Ford, a Chevy, a Dodge, soup it up how you want, and then go win. But trying to start from scratch is more of a, it's not an advantage. It would be more of a thing to brag about. Just doing it for bragging rights or something. Snob is saying, I'm assuming for your website, 10 or 15 a month. I don't remember. 10 is reasonable. 15, let's start talking, because you can definitely get it done cheaper than $10 a month, unless they're doing a lot of stuff for you, which I can't imagine they're doing for you. Or at least you're not taking them up on all the stuff that would cost 15. You could probably get it done cheaper. Oh, DJ said I have one of those portable oil-filled radiator-looking heaters. It's doing a decent job. Yeah, seriously, that's what I like the best. I mean, unless your insulation in your house is really bad, I don't like heating my whole house. I don't need my one room with all my books in it to be hot or cold. Like that room just stays whatever room the world is. Like I don't care about that room. My books don't care if they're hot or cold. My sewing machine is in there. Like I don't care. I don't like going in there when it's hot or cold. But that room isn't connected to nothing. And I have a couple of rooms. Well, I guess my bathroom is like that, and my other room is like that. So I just have the space heater out here where this room is, and then with 2 dogs and me, it stays nice in here. Pretty cheap. Anyhow, then Gizzard saying I used to do coding, but it's easier to use WordPress now. Plenty of options. More than that, it's like everything you want to do with it, where somebody's already figured it out with WordPress. It's such a common system at this point, over decades now. It's been a long time. Like there's definitely, if you've thought of it, people have figured out how to make it happen on there. All right, so that we talked about software, and I spent an hour talking about it, just skimming the surface. But essentially talking about those pieces of software, the stuff specifically for video editing, for graphic editing, for audio editing. They're including management of social media, but then website building, email marketing or email software, and then analytics. And I'm saying again, there's probably collaboration software is worth figuring out, even if you use Google Docs as your collaboration software, even if you use, like we're using Gilded as a way to communicate with people. If you're using some other platform to do it or using specific software, important, I would say necessary, crucial skill set is to be able to communicate with other people, be able to collaborate with other people. Communicate's easy. You just say stuff, other people say stuff. It's communication. But collaboration is, let's talk enough to decide we want to do something together, or we're both going to do something and share our results. We're going to somehow collaborate. We're both going to work towards this goal, and we're going to compare notes. Like we're going to do something together that involves more than just conversation. Maybe it's sharing images. Maybe it's sharing a spreadsheet. Maybe it's more or less than that. Sharing a folder like a Dropbox or a Google Doc or something. So that kind of competency, that kind of skill set, super important. You're going to do fine by yourself. You can do a lot by yourself. Of course, you're never going to do anything by yourself. You're going to use other people's influence and information. You can accomplish all that alone, but you'll have more fun. You'll be in the game longer, and you'll not waste time by working with other people. If you've got somebody who understands design and layout, and you're frustrated by design and layout, and you're hindered by your design and your layout, you don't see that. What I'm saying? Like, what's the point of wasting time or digging yourself into the dirt there? Reach out, accomplish something, and move on. And now you can get into whatever it is you're interested in. You have a spin on how to reach people. You've got an ability to create events. You've got an interest in sharing something. Like you can do your thing and not be held up by the stuff that you're not good at when you can collaborate. Not always, but a lot of times you can get past stuff, and then you never know. Sometimes you can have an idea. I'm going to go here, and all I got to do is climb up that ladder, and you have a conversation with 2 or 3 people, and you find out, or you could do it that way, or you can just jump over here and jump in the water, and the water will flow right past where you're going. Just jump out of the water when you get there. Instead of being tired, you'll be well rested and refreshed when you get to where you're going. And sometimes just having other people who've done it a million times is how you figure that stuff out. You can walk up a hill 100 times, or I guess walk down a hill 100 times before you found out from somebody else that you could have just rode down the waterfall. All right, so Weston is saying I like coding and piecing things together, but there's faster and easier options now, for sure. And I'm hoping that the people that dig the challenge of coding, like the game and the puzzle of coding from back in the day, like start to apply that. How cool would it be if we had sandboxes for 2A? Like people that like to do challenging stuff and accomplish things with code that a lot of people would say can't be done. I see that happen all the time for dumbass shit like, oh, can I cram these dental reports into a quarterly report from a blah, blah, blah? Like, let's sit here for like 6 months trying to figure that out. Oh, we figured it out. Okay, it was worth $10,000 to do that. Like, who cares? Why don't we figure out a way to like express what's going on in Massachusetts and in New Jersey and Washington and Oregon to all those people in the middle of the country who are more than willing and able to help out, but just have never been called to that action. So, there's things that we can accomplish with coding and stuff. So hopefully with some focus and awareness on this stuff, we'll shine light on the challenges that those people have that aren't able or willing to code it out, and then those folks that can code it out in their sleep can come along and go, oh, here's the answer to that, and then we all move on, right? We can end this endless, not so endless debate. Anyway, we'll keep going. Core skills: strong writing and editing skills, the ability to write clear, concise, and engaging content that informs and persuades your audience. Luckily, we don't have to do that anymore. You got AI. You do have to read. You have to know, like, you have to have the editing part. You have to know what you're reading, so you have to know if it's right or not. But you don't have to know stuff. You don't have to be fancy or witty or know a bunch of words. Just tell the robot to know a bunch of words for you and then edit it, make sure that it's right. So as long as you can verify, I think that's your skill set. I've never been good at spelling because, one, I didn't care. Two, I didn't care. And then by the time I needed to care, there was robots to do it for me, literally. So, since the internet's been around, there's been autocomplete and there's been spell checks. So I grew up having shitty spelling and whatever until the internet. Now I can spell just fine. I never learned how to spell. I just learned how to make a robot spell for me. So same thing with writing skills. You could try to learn how to write fancy, or just know how to read and know what you like and keep yelling at a robot until it says what you want. So I think that one is a pretty good skill that we can lean on the robots for. And then the people that really like to be creative and have a lot of words in their head and put them out, in fancy ways, go for it. Like, you're going to stand out heads and shoulders above stupid robots these days. So I think everybody wins with the future here. But essentially nobody's left behind now. You're not going to be limited because you don't have the ability to just sit down and type out, paragraphs and paragraphs about whatever it is you're passionate about. Here's the other thing. You don't have to write so well anymore. You can just sit here and ramble. When this is over, I'll be able to go click and in the transcript of this thing will essentially take everything I said in this hour and turn it into words on a paper. And again, just edit that down to what it is you're trying to get across. So, these live things are great for accomplishing text to speech to text, I guess. Anyway, so strong editing skills, yes. Writing skills, yeah. Next up is effective video production skills, knowledge of video editing fundamentals, including shot selection, pacing, transition, and audio mixing. Again, I don't think you need to have the skills so much as understand you have knowledge. You don't have to practice that knowledge or put it into application as much as understanding it, because if you're going to pass your file along, let's say you're going to you'd say you're going to film video or have video filmed, you're going to want to tell your people, like, hey, they're going to need to edit this. So in that case, put a big pause between this and that, or, click black and white video in movies all the time. The editors and what's going weren't there to watch filmed. So it's one of those things, like, once you understand what to do, you can film it. That makes their job. You're not paying your for 7 hours of work because you made it complicated by writing in a thing to what the editors might need. You can facilitate, I guess that's the word, like, you can make it more efficient. So all that other stuff, if you're an editor, man, there's so much things to edit nowadays. There are, we've mentioned a couple of apps for the phone that can do. Oh, what am I losing my internet? Am I still here? DJ saying I have done book, alternative paper, literary journals, and student publications editing, degrees in English, and writer's workshop. You're saying you've edited all those things? I don't know if my internet's working. My screen is looking like my internet is just dying. So I'm going to take a second here and see if I can find Cape Gunworks show and plug it into the show today, if that's going to happen. Doesn't look like it. So let me, how do I get over here and scroll down to Keep Gunworks? Go to live. Okay, they haven't posted it yet. All right, so if we're back, I don't know. It still says my internet's bad. So I still get this little indication that my connection, oh, it says now it's fairly good. I might be back at fairly good again. So we're going to get into effective video production. We just did that one. Graphic design skills. Proficiency in creating visually appealing graphics, thumbnails, and social media posts to enhance your content. Again, I think if you can read, like if you can see and you know what's good, you don't have to know how to make it. You just have to know what's bad. So, and you can kind of get into a routine. Plenty of people, okay, thanks for the, plenty of people spend way much time on it, I think. Some people ignore it completely. But I think if you consider, you understand thumbnails are your first impression that you're making out there. So they're necessary to be, they're pretty crucial to your projects. Thumbnails, given the thumbs, what's the word? The significance or whatever, giving them the attention that they deserve. That's how I figured it out. Like I just assumed, I didn't like thumbnails like everybody. I'm like, I don't care about thumbnails. What do I care about thumbnails? And then I figured out, well, okay, the whole rest of the world cares about thumbnails, so I have to worry about my thumbnails. So once you finally kind of get your thumbnail game in or tuned in or whatever works for you, and it's more like what works for your audience, right? Like what works for you is nice, but unless you're very, very common, whatever you like isn't necessarily what everybody's going to like. So if you figure out what people like and you kind of get that down, you can pretty much leave it there for a while. I mean, it's probably never good to leave things too long. But I guess what I'm saying is once you've or if you tune in your thumbnails, I think that'll get you proficient in all this stuff that they're talking about, visually appealing graphics and, getting design, thinking in design, like thinking in creatively, what people are interested in. And it's just a matter of paying attention, just looking at the thumbnails that are successful and taking the elements from them that seem to work and that can apply to what you're doing. Applying them and then seeing, testing. And once you figure it out. But in the process, you sort of learn graphic design in the process. Like it just happens. Big letters that are easy to read, essentially, right? Stuff that pops out at you versus stuff that gets hidden into the background. Those kind of graphic skills. Beyond that, it's more of if you're interested in it or not. I'm going to say with all of these skills and with those softwares too, this can be the same risk, the same problems to watch out for. You don't want to fall into the hole or the pit of being too interested in any one of these. Just like you don't want to like any particular weapon, you should be able to wield all of them. You don't want to be so interested in one aspect of any of content creation that you're not paying attention to the others. Some of them are necessary, some of them are not. You definitely want to be aware of all as many as you can, if not all of them, to some extent, right? So some of these you might have a tendency to just spend all your time on, and that can be just as detrimental as, because it's the same, I guess, as ignoring some of them. So some people will, be 10% of their time on here, 10% of their time on here, 20% of their time on here, and then 90% of their time over here. I think that's how most of us are. Be careful of that, because then you don't realize you're doing 0% here, 0% here, 0% here. So if you attempt to give yourself, if you think of this as a project that needs to be accomplished, or if your goal is something that's worthy of real effort, then you don't just get to play, right? You don't just get to eat dessert and still be healthy, right? You can just eat dessert all you want. You're going to die. So you need to have the well-balanced, all that stuff. So if you really want your project to keep going, you don't have to do everything constantly, but being aware of all these things is really necessary. and giving them some attention, even if you don't do the attention. The best part about all this is, especially with collaboration, the stuff that you suck at, there's somebody out there that's their favorite thing to do. And what they are missing is somewhere to do it for, or some place to do it. And maybe you provide the person, the place, or the thing that they can then do their passion with, and then that accomplishes one of your pieces. And again, collaboration accomplishes that. How awesome would it be if we got all the coders out there to work on stuff that's important instead of instead of just wasting their time? If we had all the marketing people working on our side instead of just wasting their time, all the data or search engine people working on our side instead of playing video games. That'd be the goal, I guess. So, okay, let's get down to social media marketing expertise, understanding of the social media platforms, our audience targeting and content strategies to grow your following and engage with your audience. I mean, that takes some time, and it changes all the damn time. So, much easier said than done. You have to jump in somewhere. This is a fast-moving and constantly changing, lots of opinions. This is kind of like the stock market. Everybody understands the concept. Buy stocks when they're cheap, sell them when they're expensive. Pretty easy to figure out how to do that, how to accomplish it, the order to do it, the way to do it, techniques, theories, strategies. Everybody you talk to is going to have their own. So, same with social media. So understanding that, just get in there. You have to start getting in there somewhere. If you're going to give it 10% of your attention, if you're going to give it 50% of your attention, decide that, start giving it that much attention, and don't think you're just going to get a quick instruction book to learn this stuff. This is one of those things you're going to have to kind of figure out, and then challenge. It's either going to be a challenge or it's going to be easy, but you're going to have to figure it out for a while, and only experience helps you with this. You can't just read a book on it, because if you did read a book on it, if there was such a thing as a book about it today, it would be different 3 weeks from now and 3 years from now. That's why nobody writes books on this stuff. This is one of those things that's been around for a while. It's there, but it's so wiggly and squiggly that there's no way to just, other than to allude to it, there's no way to master it other than to get in there and do it. It's a lot easier to master when you've got a bunch of things to work with, and you've got large things to work with, but a lot of times, just like anything, it's just as easy, if not an advantage, to start small and work your way up into it, because then you just have a better understanding of it than people that come into a job, for example, get hired and get given a giant entity and they're told, here, run this giant entity. It's a lot different if you built the entity to start with. Let's see, Defense Dad said, depends on your content. I try to get fancy with videos and cinematics and editing. I found gun guys don't care about that stuff. Well, here's the thing. If you build it, they will come. So I've done tons of stuff that didn't exist, and then people went, oh my gosh, this is the coolest thing ever. And then I've done a bunch of stuff that I just ignore, or I keep track of, but I don't dwell on it. But I've done tons of stuff that I've done that I thought was super cool and nobody gave a shit about. Every once in a while, you have to try it again, because you might have just put something awesome up there right as the fireworks were starting somewhere else, and they just weren't paying attention to your thing, or wrong place, wrong time. But it's got legs. But the other side of it is, again, people may not like it once or twice, but if you did it consistently, they might start to go, why isn't everybody else doing this? And then other people start doing it, and then they start to dig it. But again, that's your thing. If you're into it, if you enjoy the video editing and it's not a drudgery for you, then keep doing it. It doesn't hurt nothing to have extra. Worst that happens is you get way better at what you do. And when you really want to do something important for you, like, boom, it's going to be amazing. Instead of understanding how to do it, you'll have complete competency on how to accomplish it. And then the worst case that happens there is that when someone is super interested in having something done, then if somebody's super interested in having something done, maybe you can be the one to help them do it, right? If you've had enough experience. All right, so let's see. Then he said, and Defense Dad said, thumbnails should really be designed like billboards on the highway. If the point doesn't come across in a few seconds, they keep scrolling. Yeah, that's a great way to explain it, or a great way to think about it, right? It's essentially the same thing. I mean, you're putting something down that people are barely going to see out of their peripheral most of the time, and if you catch their eye, they might focus on it, and, right? Do something. DJ's asking the whole chat, wouldn't it be cool if thumbnails could be animations, like little loops? They kind of do that on YouTube. If you hover over something on YouTube, will it happen over here on the side? I think it will. If I go over here and hover, see how it kind of flips into a portion? So they kind of do that. And if you know what you're doing, then you leave a little something in there for people to find. Like I give a little Easter egg of my puppy every time. Because my puppy co-host comes up and sits in there right when I start the show. Let's see. Oh, snap. First off, this dog gets fed every morning when I check my numbers. If he brings in the money he's supposed to, he gets fed. So this dog got fed today. But since is throwing in a super chat, let's feed this puppy. So a lot of places won't go live. Hold on. Oh, man, what am I doing? A lot of places won't go live and feed a puppy co-host every time a super chat comes in, but we will. $1 and hold on, 99 cents. There you go. You can have the remainder. And then this one is for She Fires, because She Fires has also super chatted in the past. A lot of people have asked, is this his USB cord? Is this to plug him in? No, this is a totally separate USB cord used for something else completely. I don't use that for plugging in him. He doesn't need to recharge. That's not why he's sitting in this charging station. I mean, in this little bed thing that he sits in. It's not electric. It's made out of puppy. I lost my screen. Hold on, I gotta find my screen again. It's over here behind him. He's not been good this morning. Now he just essentially got rewarded for being bad all morning. He's been bad most of the morning, so he's just been sitting here moping. Let's see. So let's go back to that one and puppy window down there. She Fires saying, I often think about magazine covers and the short taglines and how they draw you in. Yeah, exactly. That's a good point. We've kind of all, at least some of us, going to grocery stores and stuff over the years have been conditioned to, what kind of stuff works. Contrasting colors, big eyes, I don't know, flames or fires, some of the imagery that you'd see on like the different magazine covers. Is the dog coming to SHOT Show? Assuming I go to SHOT Show, I got to pay $50 to leave $50 a day to leave these dogs behind, and I feel like that's a lot of money to leave them behind. So I'm trying to drag them with me for sure, but nothing's certain yet. Nothing is certain yet. I keep thinking that I should be getting ready for SHOT Show, and then I do other things and I don't do it, and then it's like, dang, it's been another day. I should be getting ready for SHOT Show. I listen to this one show on Tuesday mornings, and they've suggested getting your stuff for SHOT Show in order way before now. But that's not always the case, or not always possible, I should say. It'd be nice, but it's not always possible. So next up is social media. Let's see. Where was I at? Oh, no, it's core skills. We're not even down there yet. Oh, no, we are in core skills. Okay, so we did strong writing, right? We did effective video editing, design skills, social media marketing expertise, understanding. Okay, so both of these are essentially, I've already kind of covered that. Like, you don't need to know this stuff up front, but look at this stuff up front. Look at this stuff every once in a while. And here's another thing. There's an opportunity to talk about this. I think these things are not necessarily that you master them ahead of time. In fact, you can't master them before you have a project. You can understand the concepts before you are in the game. But once you're in the game, you'll understand these elements, social media, marketing, and search engine optimization. These will become more you'll understand these once you've been doing something for a minute. So once you've been doing something for a minute, and then you go back and take a look at social media marketing projects, or I guess something that's like an education or some kind of a walkthrough on social media marketing, and then you look at some of the social engine optimization strategies and tutorials and things that are out there, make sure they're current, because this stuff is critical that it's current. This stuff is useless when it's old, because whatever happens today, the internet changes to adapt to it, and then the internet changes, and then all these things change to adapt to it, and then the internet changes, and then all these things change. So if you look at stuff that's old, you're definitely wasting your time. So you always want to look at very current stuff. But whenever you go back to look at your current stuff, what you've got is the advantage of experience. You've now been doing stuff for a while. And every time you go back and readdress this stuff to see what's new, you're going to find out that you've done something. You've either done stuff already that needs to be done, or you've done a whole bunch of stuff right next to what you needed to do. All you got to do is change it a little bit, and it's exactly what you needed to do, and you've already done it. And every once in a while you figure out you did something completely wrong, but at least now you know, okay, when I'm doing it next time, do it 180, do it differently. But you've already done some things. So this social media stuff, when you go to look at it the first time, you're going to be going, what in the world is all this stuff? Now you're going to go do some things on the internet for a while, and you're going to have gained some experience, and you're going to have earned some numbers, right? You're going to get some views. You're going to get some this and some that. You're going to have seen some things come and go. Now, months, years later, you go back and look at the social media stuff, the search engine stuff, and you're going to go, oh, now I know what that is. Oh, I did it this way when I should have done it that way. Oh, I did this right the whole way, and it just seemed right. It just seemed right to me, and it is right. That's what you're going to end up with this stuff. So you're never going to learn it, because you can't learn it. Like literally, people spend their entire professional time keeping up on this stuff, and I guess some people like that. It's super boring, so I can't recommend that to anyone. But those people are out there, and they will tell you what's going on, either for free or for most of the time for free, or they'll charge you something for it, but most of the time you can figure it out for free. So there's people that are keeping up on this, and you need to know how to keep up on it, but you don't need to keep up on it, if that makes sense. Hopefully that's good advice for people that are looking at this and ignoring it, because that's, I think, what most people from my experience do, is they see this element of the lists and they'll go, I don't know what that is, and I don't like it. It's frustrating. It's confusing. I don't like it. That's fine. But then you're going to never experience it. And now you're suffering, because the people that do pay attention to this stuff, it's as simple as just crossing T's and dotting I's when people say that, right? Like if you can scribble in cursive and you didn't cross all your T's and dot your I's, it looks like a bunch of nothing. It looks like a bunch of W's, right? Like that's where that comes from. If people just scribble in cursive and don't dot their I's and cross their T's, it looks like they wrote WWV, WV, WVVV, WW. So you have to go in and do that to make it legible for other people. And that's what this is talking about. Like this stuff, you can get by without it, but you're just messing with it. Let's see. Snob is saying, I've been putting no text on my thumbs recently, just good close-up pictures, and they seem to be working well. Depends on where we're talking about. If we're talking about the platforms, certain platforms are different than other platforms. But yeah, I don't think writing on a thumbnail is all that necessary on a phone. Writing on a thumbnail for something that's going to show up on a big screen TV, you're losing an opportunity there. So sometimes writing in a way that is invisible on a tiny device, but then shows up on a big device, now all of a sudden skinny letters bring up a whole new, reason to exist. This one's neat. Data analysis and interpretation. Ability to analyze web traffic, social media metrics, and video analytics to understand your audience and improve your content strategy. I think that's just exactly what I said about the last two. Essentially, understanding that everything we do on the internet is so much cooler than making a magazine. Like back in the old days, you'd make a magazine. I don't know how many people did this, but you'd come up with something to say, and you'd type it up on a piece of paper, or you'd draw it on markers on a piece of paper or something. Then you'd find some copy machine that you could get to that would let you copy on it for free. And then you'd copy the heck out of your pieces of paper. Maybe you'd make 2 or 3 double-sided pieces of paper, and then you'd staple them together with a stapler, and then you would go around handing those out to people, or you'd put them in a pile somewhere at a concert or something. And that was called a zine back in the day. You'd put that stuff together and send it out. Sometimes you'd take a bunch of pieces of paper and you'd fold them in half and staple that, and it became a booklet. And you would send that stuff out. And now maybe every once in a while you'd put something in the back like, hey, if you like this, send me $1 and I'll send you my next one. And that was feedback right away. Data analysis, right? You're getting feedback from the people you sent this out to. How many of them appreciate it enough to want to see it again? It was a pain in the ass back in the old days. That's all you had. And, you'd do stuff and then maybe you'd get a response. You'd do stuff and 6 years later, you'd get a response. I mean, talk about crazy weird. Nowadays, literally every single thing that happens is recorded. It's just a matter of if you're doing it on a place that tells you about the recordings or not. So you go to some platforms and you do a bunch of stuff and they know what you did, but they don't have any way of telling you. They have no interest in telling you. But if you go to if you go to YouTube or some Google things and do stuff, they'll tell the person who, like, you go to my website and go around on there. Like, I know exactly where you went. I know what you did, how long you stood here, how long you waited over there, what you looked at, what you clicked on, what you hovered over. Like the computers keep track of everything. And people that are paying attention to this stuff, sometimes they're wasting their time. You can get paralysis through analysis, right? For sure. But again, through experience and understanding, you figure out what to ignore, what to keep an eye on, just like your gauges in your car. When you're driving, you watch the speedometer because that's going to give you a ticket. You watch the gas gauge because that's going to, you're driving or not. But the heat and the electric thing or whatever those other ones are, oil pressure, how many people look at those? And even if you did look at them, how many people know what those things are and what they're supposed to indicate? You may not know what that gauge means, but it's always right there. And this time it's way to the left. That can't be good, right? That's not where it's normally at. I'm going to take it to someone who knows what this gauge means and ask them. That's what the internet is. That's what we're talking about, that kind of stuff. If you know what your dashboard's telling you and if you're interested in it. So you can be interested to any level you want, and you can be way too interested. I'm not talking to people that are too interested. So be aware, like get interested to some extent, just so you know that you're not burning oil or something, so that you're not getting bad gas mileage. And then we got public speaking and presentation skills, confidence in presenting your ideas and engaging with your audience. So that's kind of neat. I don't know how many people think about this, but these conversations that I've been having since 2009 or 10, having actual conversations online. I've been typing with people online since the 90s. And they were pretty ugly. Like, people would really be mean to each other when you type to each other in forums and stuff. I mean, I built my forums back in the day so that we would have a place to hang out that was free of all the abuse on the big forums. Now we have the internet, or we have the YouTubes and stuff, and we have trolls. And there was trolls back in the day too, so they're just different now. But the other side of this is that when we get together and communicate, that's public speaking to some extent. People that jump in and join in these conversations, technically we're talking in front of a bunch of people, like depending on how big the audience is and how much you care about, or how much, I guess if you're one of these people that point the camera at yourself when you talk, that probably feels more like you're public speaking maybe. But even when you're not, when you're doing like what we do with the podcast thing, you're just talking into a microphone, looking at the wall. Technically I'm talking to thousands of people right now. You don't think about it because you just start doing it and you're really talking to the person on the other end of the microphone. I'm talking to DJ and She Fires and Snob and Defense Dad, right? I'm talking to the people I know out there, and then the people I know who are going to comment on the podcast or whatever. And then, I don't know, 1,000 other people, 10,000 other people, who knows? Not on this video. But on some videos, 10,000 people are going to be listening to it. That, I think you just get over after some amount of experience or after some amount of time on the clock, right? Like, you're just going to not care about that after a minute. It sounds like a big deal until you've done it a million times. You don't care about it anymore. But I think the better part of this is when you participate in these conversations, when you get into some of the rooms like what Gizzard has available, what Foss has available, where you can join in and be part of a conversation, you're going to just be more comfortable. You're confident, sure, but you're going to be more comfortable in having these conversations. Brooke Cheney's Suicide Awareness Saturday is the best Second Amendment thing by far that's happened, and it's now lasted longer than any other valid Second Amendment thing out there. And it's because it normalizes the conversation about mental health awareness and, of course, suicide prevention. So people who rightfully so have apprehension because they're not comfortable talking about mental health and or suicide prevention and awareness of both of these issues. If you've never talked about them before, how are you going to be confident and comfortable talking about them? So Brooks project each Saturday gives me the chance to talk about it constantly. Like, I can talk about suicide all the time. Every once in a while, I'll think about it like, oh, I'm very comfortable talking about suicide prevention, and some people ain't. And every once in a while, I'll sit up there thinking about it like, oh, in real life, I just talked about suicide prevention very comfortably. And I'll bet you most of the people that heard what I just said have never even said the word suicide this month. You know what I mean? Like, they haven't said the word suicide maybe this year. So they're not comfortable talking about these topics. And when somebody comes along and says, blah, 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 gun deaths, they're not able to just quickly jump up and say, fuck you, gun deaths. You're standing on the graves of suicide there, you asshole, or you ignorant son of a bitch, right? Like, there's definite advantage to being comfortable and experienced having conversations about the things that matter. So this public speaking and presentation skill, but getting comfortable and confident in having conversations about those things that matter to us, which is, hopefully expanding the conversation and the challenges beyond our rights and our property, but to, oh, you're worried about the number of people that are dying? Let's talk about fentanyl, 107,000 overdoses last year, right? I'm only comfortable about that because I've looked it up like 15 times. So I know that it's 107,000 and it's jumped 5 times in 1 year. So 2023 is the last numbers we have, 107,000 deaths from fentanyl. That's just the overdoses. That's the CDC. I'm not making this number up. It's the CDC number. It's easy to find. Type in fentanyl deaths 2023 CDC and you'll find the data, 107,000. It's up 22% from the year before. Yet they're going to suggest that the 40,000 deaths from firearms, and knowing that 30,000 of those 40,000 are from suicide, like, in all due respect, fuck you. Like, you cannot be doing that. So they're not going to stop doing it because they're wrong as shit, and they keep saying it. It's our responsibility. It's our obligation to be able to challenge that. So this whole stuff about doing stuff online, a lot of people look at it as some sort of blah, blah, blah ego thing, or blah, 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 get rich quick. I don't care. Let them. This is capitalism. People want to be rich and famous. Let them. It sucks that they get rich and famous by ignoring the stuff that matters, but they're just one of the many fish in this ocean, this pool, and this stuff. So this internet's for everybody. And those of us that are trying to get stuff done have just as much ability and, we're just as able to use these systems. And like I was kind of mentioning before, we're better off when more people are here talking about things that matter, because it's an alternative to the people that are standing there talking about nothing, right? When there's nobody talking about something decent, all that's left is the salty, sweet treats. If there's nobody laying down nutrition, all you're going to get is snacks. So don't get mad at the snacks. Lay down some nutrition. Once there's a bunch of nutrition and the snacks start saying they're better than the nutrition, fuck them, get rid of them. But when there's nothing on the table and the snacks sit down because there's nothing else there, you just don't get mad at the snacks. They didn't cause nobody sitting at the table. Maybe nobody's sitting at the table because nobody put any vegetables and meat and bread down for them. Put some stuff down and let people feast. All right, we'll keep moving. I'm currently waiting on fast dry caulk to dry so I can paint. Sometimes spraying it with stuff helps. Spraying water on some of my caulks, my silicone caulks, engages their curing. I don't know what kind you're using. Additional skills. Knowledge of Second Amendment issues. It's probably worthwhile. And being comfortable helps. So If you're not up to date, by all means, take a chunk and study up. You don't need to know everything. You just got to kind of get into it. One of the things I'll be doing next year is attempting to offer some on ramps. It took me a while. If you go back, and if there was a way for you to look at all my videos, something like, I don't know, 6,000 videos or something at this point. If there was a way for you to go back somewhere in actually there is a way. If you go back and do a search for I don't know what to do it right now, but we're too late in the show to do this. But if you went back and looked, at some point I was getting frustrated because in 2004 we got rid of the assault weapons ban and everything was super cool for a while. And then every once in a while they'd throw something goofy at us, like a state level ban or something. And in 2009 we started to get the removal of bans, prohibitions on constitutional carry. So starting in 2009 here in Arizona, we got constitutional carry. Of course, being the third and really the first of the continental states to actually get constitutional carry, come up with it out of nowhere, we started looking around. Our ears perked up and we were like, right on, this is happening. Of course, now we have 27 states with constitutional carry, so it's really easy to look back and go, oh, okay, we knew it was coming and whatnot. But, just kind of being there and paying attention was sort of, let me at least kind of pay attention as the other states would happen and stuff. So anyhow, as I started to look around, I was like, wait a minute, what are these damn laws? What are the, I know we've heard about the 1934, we hear about the 1968, but then wait a minute, we also hear about 1986. Wait a minute, we also hear about 1994. Oh wait, and then that also means 2004 because that one sunsetted. But then we also have the Knicks, and that was 1992. And then we also, so it started to add up. And then you think about, okay, there's Heller, okay, and then there was the McDonald, and then there was Ezel, and then there was Ezel 2, and then there was the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus the loser Bruin. And, we have all these court cases, so that became a layer to have to worry about. Okay, and then we have, we have some states that have concealed carry, and then we have some states that have constitutional carry, and of course, keeping track of that each year. Okay, that's something else to think about. And this is all just Second Amendment basic ass shit. This is just our laws at a national level and some of the important state level stuff, right? But then we get into who has to have a permit to purchase? Who has to have a permit to even own a gun? Who has to register guns? Who can have this gun but not long guns? Who can have long guns but not handguns? Who can have handguns but not SBRs? Who can have, right? So you get into those laws and goodbye. Unless you're a robot, you're not learning those laws. That requires sheets and maps and databases and stuff. You're not learning any of that. But that's just the fucking surface. So knowledge of Second Amendment issues is not something anyone has a knowledge of, period. I can guarantee you that. It's too much to understand. And the people that do are robots or broken. And they're just, they're broken and they're able to accept way too much knowledge, but they're not going to be able to get it out. They're not going to be able to accept to recite it to you. They're not going to have a conversation with you or be useful. So it's just not a thing. So knowledge of Second Amendment issues, understand that an in-depth understanding is not possible. You can attempt an in-depth understanding, and by all means share your learning and share what you've learned, because there's no possible way, none of the national level organizations is trying, no individual has ever attempted, no one is attempting to get that information out there or just lay it down. No one. The antis do, but they do it in such a fucked up way that it's useless. It's interpreted wrong, obviously, and they're misrepresenting, misunderstanding, and they're putting it up wrong. They do include a lot of stuff, but they have bad interpretations of it as they report on it. So knowledge of the Second Amendment is a tough one. It's just like some of these other things. Understanding that you can't understand it all is crucial. Then taking a quick look to see how vast it is important. And then time on the clock. Just dig in. Don't assume you need to know everything. You don't have to be an expert to have an opinion. Don't need, in this country, you're free to be wrong, you're free to be right, you're free to learn, and you're free to be part of the conversation all along the way. So don't let anybody tell you that if you don't know enough, you shouldn't be at the table. They are probably the wrong one to be at the table if they're saying that. All right, so with that being said, get in there, try to figure it out, and then share along the way. Share, ask questions, say stuff, and allow yourself to be wrong and learn. So super critical. We need to normalize this knowledge in order so people can understand why it's so important. The people who marginalize us would suggest that our property is a vice and our interest in that property is a problem with us. It's an issue that we have where we're not capable of understanding the importance or the I don't know, the importance of the topic or whatever. When in reality, they're not. They're only paying attention on the surface. They're not paying attention to what else going on. So our awareness of that is crucial for turning the tables in society on that stuff. And that doesn't mean like we have to get out and debate everybody. We just have to be confident in our knowledge of our side of this fence here. They take for granted that we're fractured and we don't stand up and say, no, when they come up and say dumb shit in front of everybody. Okay, so DJ saying, I'm from Kansas. I am a Kansas band fan on Facebook. It's not the same. Moderators. You guys are having a conversation or something. Okay, so the next one is research and fast checking abilities. So the ability to conduct thorough research, verify information, and present accurate and unbiased content. That's super critical. If we can't, we should be confident because we're right almost always. There's a couple of things that we're dipshits about, but it's dipshits about being my rights, my property. Like we're only dipshits about our strategy. We're not wrong on anything. The other side, we know that. We understand that we're right, not just because we're like patting ourselves on the back. It's because the other side lies. Like if the other side was right about something, we'd have to acknowledge that, well, they're right about that. I mean, I'm not even filtering what we're talking about here. Like they're wrong about just about everything. It's their failed policies that create the violence, that creates all the problems that they point to. They point to the wrong conclusions. So again, we've got it on our side. You can research this and fact check it all you want. Please do, but don't just recite the facts. Like what we need is people who are able to summarize that and get that concept across to the people who are not fact checking, who are not researching. And these people are brainiacs. These people are smarter than us. These people know better than us. These people are doing this for our best interest. So the thing that I found that works the best, or I suspect works the best, is to challenge their intelligence and to not tell them a fact, but ask them a fact. Get them to go research. And when they look at the shitty, fake answers that are given to them, if they are at all legit, they're going to question the validity of the garbage that's presented by the violence prevention sites, which are biased as all hell. So they're going to take shitty biased data, in which case you can challenge them on taking shitty biased data, or they're going to go out and actually look at the real data, which is available through the CDC, the people that we pay, the government entity that we pay to provide the data. They're going to look at that and understand that the numbers we're looking at, our position is based on CDC data. Their position is based on hand-picked, like bullshit data from the CDC data. And again, if they're at all legit, they're going to see that, and now they're going to start to question their side. We'd be better off if we had all their brainiacs questioning their side instead of just yelling at us because of emotions or whatever, and we get emotional back at them and they win. So anyway, research and facts. We got some strategy there. I'm definitely not saying regurgitate facts at anybody. That never works. Next up, interviewing and storytelling skills. Expertise in conducting engaging interviews and weaving compelling narratives into your content. Check out KD's Stogies and what the hell is it? Something in Stogies. It's not shotguns and stogies, is it? But check out KD's interview style. I think that one's pretty good. We have some people out here that are engaging some interesting styles of interviews. And then as far as weaving compelling narratives, if you're able to to go on and to talk about the things that have happened, join the conversation. We need people that are able to weave a compelling narrative. We've got some people that are close to it, and maybe a couple that are actually good at it, but they're more interested in becoming famous and maybe rich along the way. So it'd be cool to see some people in 2A doing that. And if I'm missing anybody in this realm, I'm actually trying to think right now and talk at the same time, so it's not working. There might be somebody here that I'm missing. But anyway, that one would be, I think that one's awesome. I like that one. Next one is community engagement and networking, ability to actively participate in online and offline communities, build relationships, and network with other Second Amendment content creators. We have this. We definitely have this. Hopefully people will start to be a little bit more, what's the word? Like people will start to vet the people. Right now, everybody's just happy to see each other and everybody loves everybody. We don't need to love everybody. We have exploiters in our midst. We have people that shouldn't be here hanging around. So we don't want to just participate with everyone online. Build relationships with everybody or network with everybody, but with the people that are decent and are worth a shit, please, definitely. This isn't super critical. I don't really need to say much about this because as far as I can tell, this is happening. We're not all weird and we don't all we're not Borg or ants or something. We're not all friends with each other, whether with everybody, I mean, but the groups that are friends with each other are definitely most of them are doing good work. And as that happens, the ones that are doing good work are going to be obvious. The ones that are sitting around wasting everybody's time are more and more obvious every day. So this part's crucial. I don't think I need to lecture anybody on this one. I think we're engaging in this one pretty well. So jump in. Do not think that you need to be this tall to enter. Go join communities, be part of conversations, join networks and be part of them. Change the ones that suck. Because the ones that suck still exist. They're still gun people. They're just spun off on trying to get rich and famous. Slap them around, throw some water on them, and get them back in the game. Same way with the NRA. It's shitty right now, but it doesn't mean it's always got to be shitty. And it doesn't mean it always was shitty. It's just shitty at the moment. So throw some water on their face, slap them. Hey, what are you doing? Let's get on game here and let's, save a state, save a sector, adopt something and do something useful. But there's lots of potential out there for when we start engaging, start harnessing our ability to network. It'd be awesome if if the national level organizations harnessed that, encouraged it, gave up training and skill building on that concept. How cool would that be? Instead of just telling us about stuff like engage people, facilitate, but whatever. Can I drop a link to a really good 2A conversation channel I mod? You mean which one? She Fires? Sure. You mean Brooke? Sure. Or you mean the conversation one? Costly Conversations guy? Conversations never go well when you open with "you're wrong, have a delivery method." That's a good point. Unless you're shooting 9mm, then you're wrong. Let's see. Conversations never go well when New York is saying conversations never go well when you start off by saying you're wrong. Oh, I think you're just reiterating. I gotcha. I agree. And that's the thing is you learn that by having conversations, right? Like watching conversations, you've got a pretty good idea what conversations are like, but until you start having conversations, that's when you start to fuck up and you mess up and then you start to go, oh, okay, that worked. Oh, okay, that worked. Oh, that worked all the time. That's how you win, right? All right, the next one is content monetization strategies. Oh no, we're talking about money. There's all kinds of people that are going to get offended. They're going to clutch their necklaces and go, their pearl necklaces and go, oh my, you're not allowed to talk about money in capitalism. You're not allowed to talk about making money and doing stuff online. You're only supposed to just do stuff out of the goodness of your heart. Only rich people are allowed to play online. Rich people that can afford to have Second Amendment as their hobby. That happens all the time, unfortunately. We got bullies out there, people that are communists, I guess, people that expect everything has to be worked for by the sweat of your back. If you're not digging a hole, then you're some sort of lesser. Like, fuck those people and be part of the conversation. Go make a shit ton of money. How much money the people are making that are just out there playing around. Like the people around are making the most money, yet everybody who attempts to do Second Amendment and make a buck gets wailed on, like if they're somehow traitors to the cause. So the people, the non-capitalists, the communists, who would expect everyone to do Second Amendment work out of somehow, the goodness of their heart, or through their own what do you call it, like their own wealth, is messed up. We can't expect only rich people to solve our problems, and we can't expect only people who have enough extra income to hobby as Second Amendment. We were allowed to have good people make money saving our Second Amendment, creating awareness of what it protects. The ladies of the DC Project should be monetized. People that sit on their asses and bitch about every monetization effort need to be shown for what they are: communists who hate the capitalist accomplishment of goals, especially difficult goals. So definitely, if you're listening to this and you're holding yourself back because you don't have enough scratch, go make some money. There's a shit ton of money to be made online. Lots of different strategies, lots of different things going into 2024. It's only going to get easier. It's election year. There's money just gets spread around in election years. That being said, I'll take a quick tangent. Be careful. This is an election year. All kinds of people are going to come up out of the mud, just like a bug or some kind of weird slug or some kind of gross thing that lives underneath the ocean that's gross, full of slime and gross things. They're going to come up out of the muck because it's an election year. They're going to throw down their same old regurgitated shit that they throw down every year, their same old bait. And then people that are new are going to go, oh, look it, this looks good. Oh, look it, this sounds really good. Oh, look it, I've never heard this before. Yeah, you've never heard them before because they've been stuck in the mud waiting for an election year. Every 4 years, you're going to see people come up out of nowhere. Hey, I've been around for a long time and I've just been on a hiatus. Oh, I've been around for a long time and I've just been busy. Blah, blah, blah. Here's my new thing. Everybody's going to go, oh, that's amazing. Blah, blah, blah. Here's $5. Here's $10. Here's $20. They're not asking for 100. They just want $5, $20, $5. Then you'll never see them again. 4 years later, they'll come back and go, oh, I've been busy, but look what I got. So be careful of that. But on the other side of it, we've got good people that are awesome. Again, let's talk about, I guess they're not the DC Project, Women for Gun Rights. You got ladies who are on their own time, with their own dime, going to representatives and becoming a specific resource for representatives on what the new face of gun owners is in 2024. And those ladies are potentially not even able to go because of finances. And then we've got people shooting fry pans, or we've got people talking bullshit about politics, or we've got people selling coffee, or we've got people selling t-shirts, and we've got people making a shit ton of money. And then as soon as those ladies ask for a buck, they're going to get demonized. Oh, you blah, blah, blah. You can't do this on your own. Blah, blah, blah. You can't figure this out. So monetization, it's one of those weird ones. And it's unfortunately the people that are making the most money, the people that are just pulling money off the internet, never get scorned for it. Nobody gives a shit about it. In fact, people are probably wearing their fucking shirts when somebody's trying to do something on the small side, trying to get bigger. They're the ones who are going to get stepped on. People are going to come by, and you're going to have much fewer comments, and you're going to get the comment from this son of a bitch who's like, blah, 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 I'm drunk and I'm off work and you shouldn't be doing nothing because I had to be at work today. They just expect everything, They expect everything to be handed to them or given to them. They expect everything to be paid for by somebody else. And if you bring it up, then you're wrong. And it affects those individuals. And I bring this up, one, because I've had to deal with it for sure. But two, because I've seen so many people come and go because they couldn't afford to keep doing it. Because as soon as they brought up the idea of doing something to make it worth their while, these assholes who never participate, squish them. They come up and they bitch and moan with some sort of self-expressed authority that they know the way it should be, and that it's unexplainable why these people would want to actually get paid or get to be able to do something that doesn't cost themselves money. It's messed up. So this is a tough one, and it's something that as capitalists we should be willing to call out communists when they bitch about people making money online, especially in the Second Amendment realm, which is just about impossible to make a buck. And then you look at it as there's companies out there that desperately want to advertise, and nobody's going to let them. At least very few resources let them. And then you've got the potential for a person in the industry to fund useful, like effective content, and because of the perception of some lazy fucks who bitch and moan, those people, that potentially doesn't happen. And I'm not saying that I've seen that specifically not happen, but I've certainly seen the potential of that not happening year after year after year. Again, it has to do more in the small side of things. As soon as you get big, nobody challenges the big people and how much money they're making. Nobody goes into a big chat when somebody's making $100 super chat over $100 super chat over $50 super chat. Nobody comes in and says, blah, 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 about what this money's being made. So these blowhards are only going to come into small people who are trying to do something on their own, something creative, something new, and they're going to try to bully you. So if you're one of those people and you're wondering, am I allowed to ask for money? Fuck yeah, it's capitalism. You're allowed to have a capitalistic idea to make something that allows you to do more. And the people that are going to come squash on your shit understand that they're the tiny little people who don't have the balls or the ability to go complain to the people who are really exploiting us. None of them are going to stand up to that $16 million entity in Colorado that sucks money out of our industry, but they're going to complain about an individual, usually somebody who's just trying to figure something out for the first time. They're going to come complain about them like they're some sort of an authority. All right, I'll quit bitching. But hopefully if you're on the fence on this, don't even be. Like, get in there, start making something. Don't doing this. Don't prevent yourself from doing this because of money. We live in a very rich country, and we're in a community that makes money hand over fist. Every time we get scared, making money, we're secure. Anytime a new tool comes around, making money. Come up with a new from us, we're making money. Remove a law, or at least as the industry makes a lot of money. Every once in a while they don't. Most of the time they're making money, and we can't ever most of the normal revenue, most of the normal places that you would normally are anti-gun. So it's actually frustrating that we get into. We limit our immunity, and it's usually a couple of loud sons of bitches that bring that shit up, that are so lazy that they're not even entrepreneurial or able to understand what the cost of business is, because they've never done anything work for a in their lives. All right, so with that, we'll I don't know, what do you think? Was that list pretty good? I kind of like that list. This is all AI from Google's AI this week. I tried hard not to get into some specific software stuff. I was kind of debating that this week, so I guess we didn't. I'm kind of looking at some new software, some options, some things to do more than I've done in the past. Oh snap, they're already going. And because of that, I was really thinking about spending most of the time today talking about that, but instead we kind of did a comparison with this AI's results versus last week's AI's results. I'm going to do a little bit of maintenance here, and then we'll get back to the chat. But right now, I'm on the wrong channel. Right now, I'm going to bring up the chat that we're in on the screen, and I'm going to edit the video that we're in. Don't be scared. It's just like we're doing an operation on our own abdomen. It's no big deal. So I'm going to insert the knife here, and now we're looking at the guts of it's the chat that we're all in. And now we're going to go over to customization. So I'm just going to lift up the liver and the lung, and I'm going to jab underneath of this gut into this organ. We're going to jab this link. And now we'll sew it all up, use a couple of lasers, and didn't even hurt, did it? Now we have a link to a Tuesday, which is already in the works. So if you're interested, one of the reasons I do this show on Tuesday morning is to send people over to 2A Tuesday, which is happening over on the Cape Gunworks channel. By far the best radio show that happens each week is Rapid Fire Radio, which will happen tomorrow. And kind of a warm up to that, on Tuesdays, Toby goes live on the Grace Curley show in Boston, I think, to do a 45-minute segment called 2A Tuesday. So I do this show. I did the show a little bit late today. That's why we smashed into it. But I do this show as a opening act for Toby's show, both today and tomorrow. And it's because I like their show so much. I'm happy to do it. So we're going to recommend you we're going to recommend that you head over there after this show's over. I will remove that so I'm quit being distracted. I seen SheFire sent over a $10 super sticker. I'm going to start doing a thing. I saw this girl that I follow on YouTube about Amazon stuff. She did a cool little project, or she did a thing. She's using a thing for a place I haven't used before, but I think I'm going to try to do consulting, and it's like a scheduling app, like a calendar scheduling type of app to do consulting. I'm going to try doing that, and SheFires, I'm going to see if there's some way to give it credit, but I'll take all the super chats and super stickers and stuff and add them up. YouTube remembers all the ones you've done, and we'll give you as much credit as I can. So if you ever want any one-on-one, you're welcome to it. I do appreciate the financial support, since we've been talking about being capitalists here. Let's see. I think a fart is a jamming cloud manufactured by China. I don't know about all that. I did listen to an interesting conversation about Missiler, the person who runs the Minuteman nuclear missile silos in Montana. They talked a little bit about those balloons that got shot down last year, or was that this year? But what China's capable of, I think I have a fairly realistic opinion of what China's capable of, and I'm not too worried about China. Well, I base it off of listening to my interview shows that I listen to, and so many analysts that are not too concerned about China. I'm not as concerned about China as some people. Let's see. So Gunswater saying, can't get anybody to write in on the proposal. Definition is universal background checks and registration. Yeah, essentially. I mean, it's not even a slippery slope. That's essentially what they're doing, because they're suggesting that you can't sell a gun without going through all that, because they're going to decide what number of guns you can sell now. So it's essentially that. I mean, there's no way to not interpret it that way. Let's see. Outcast is saying the trick to life is to not expect much, and then when good thing happens, you'll be happy. I get you. I mean, that's definitely a nice perspective on it. However, I think we're allowed to be ambitious, and we are allowed to set goals. And I'm not going to suggest that it's necessary to set goals. I think you're also allowed to just do what you want, right? You can allow things to happen to you. We're free to do that. But I don't think it's a bad thing or a greedy thing to set goals, and then either achieve them or not. Setting a goal is a goal; it's a place to work towards, right? You're not guaranteed to get there, but I don't think we get very far if we just expect not much to happen. I want a lot of things to happen, and then I'll interpret my results, good or bad, once I attempt. So does that make sense? Like, I hear what you're saying, though. Once I set off towards the goal, I don't get too caught up if the goal gets reached or not, because you can always set another goal, right? But I guess I'm just trying to be cautious about setting the goals too low. Because if you set your goals really low, you hit every goal. You're awesome. You never lose. And we fall victim to those people all the time. Those are some of the laziest people out there. They set their goal 1 inch off the ground. They achieve their goal every day, and they walk around like they're amazing because they hit every goal they've ever shot at. They just never shot at anything ambitious before. And you don't have to shoot for everything ambitious all the time, but, just being aware of that is what we're going to be aware of. So with that, we'll wrap it up. I had planned to give out these eclairs today, but no one wanted them, so I guess I'll have to eat them. So I was going to hand those out today for free, but nobody wanted them. So I guess we'll have to end the show with me and the pup. Well, the puppy can't eat an eclair because the eclairs have chocolate on them. That's deadly poison to a puppy. So I'll have to eat them eclairs. Y'all can look underneath your chairs. It's possible that somebody left a snack under there for you. I'm going to recommend you head over to Cape Gunworks after you check out our gear website store. If all this talk of capitalism got you all hot and bothered and you want to spend some money, I'm going to let you spend some, or I'm going to encourage you to spend some at our store. Or head over to our Patreon. Be one of the people that makes this show possible. There's not a bunch of commercials. I don't care if you buy this cactus, even though it has the perfect grip angle. You can put your red dot right on top of there. Look at how comfortable the angle of the trigger is on this thing. Like, I don't care if you buy this or not. I got plenty of people doing stuff on other places that are making the rent and stuff like that. So the Patreons are making it possible for us to have 3 servers running. So pretty soon those will start getting some boost. They keep bunches of websites going. They give us time to work on these social things over here. But really what we're doing is we're taking we're taking these concepts and we're shoving them out there to people, hopefully get challenged and inspired to get out there and work and act. On Mondays, we try to get the word out about people who've already been doing that. Wednesdays, we'll have a little fun with the game show. Thursdays, it's all about training and travel, right? And then on Fridays, wrapping up the week. I guess technically on Saturdays, we do the gun questions, and on Sundays, the knife show. But whatever, we don't really count the weekend shows. But no, I get you. I get what you mean. In any case, if those people that are inspired by what we're doing grab something from us or become a Patreon, we do appreciate it. Like I said, going into 2024, things are looking pretty good. And I'm stoked because it's an election year and we've had a couple of years now of good projects. You've seen the DC project evolve into Women with Gun Rights, evolve from a national level to a national and local level. We've seen Girl in a Gun, Kick-Ass, National Association of, African American Gun Owners, NAGA, they're kicking ass. That's a bottom-up kind of competition to the NRA. We've got, the national level organizations sucking, essentially. I'm just going to say it. Like, they kind of sit there and suck. So that means smaller organizations have something to accomplish. They have some something to work for. So we're sitting at a pretty good time in 24. As I get more and more time to work on the projects that I've worked on in the past, I'm also coming up with things that need to exist or that should exist. So usually when I come up with something that needs to exist, I look around and figure out that somebody else already figured it out and worked on it. So most of the time when I discover or think of something, it's just a matter of discovering. So I'm looking forward to seeing if that continues into 24. We'll know at SHOT Show, kind of the finger on the pulse of what the community's thinking going into this election year. We'll have a little bit better idea who's running for office. But yeah, we've got a pretty interesting time ahead of us. And while we've had worse times for sure, and we've probably had a couple of better times, as far as going into a year, this is an interesting one for us and for us personally here at this channel, but also in general. I think we got a pretty interesting year. A lot of potential going into next year. But New York was saying goals are good. You work towards them. Expecting things becomes the problem. Yeah, exactly. When you take things for granted, so right, ignore things, assume things. But when you start to expect a result and start planning too far ahead on that result, I think I got you. And now they're talking about guitars. So again, thanks to She-Fires for the money. Appreciate the super chat. There we go. And we'll wrap this one up. So I'm cramping into Toby a little bit, but if you're interested in listening to something right after this, the robots will recommend that you head over to Cape Gunworks. All right, we'll see you tomorrow with the look at the Instagram. Probably around this time tomorrow. So I'll see you in about 24 hours.
GearWebsites.com is your source for firearms-based playing cards and books. We also have mugs, shirts, and posters with designs that we've made live. Of course, we have patches. Every Friday is Free Patch Friday. We appreciate your support. Thank you for shopping at GearWebsites.com.
Captain, a vessel approaching.
On screen.
We're being hailed.
Every weekend over at GearWebsites.com, our online store, we have Free Patch Friday. And that means that every order placed on our store on Fridays is going to include at least one free patch. So that's every order with no coupons, no minimum order, no codes needed. You place the order on Friday, and when it arrives to you, it's going to have at least one free patch. Your support means a lot to us, and financial support is critical. So thanks again to the people who keep us online through purchases at GearWebsites.com.